Welcome everyone to the 171st Celebrity Synastry chart reading, where we will be looking into Zara McDermott and Louis Tomlinson. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Madeline and it is so nice to meet you. On this channel, I look at the dynamic between two celebrities using astrology. For those new and returning, I take notes on a Synastry chart looking at the personal planets, signs, aspects, and of birth times available house overlays. I share these notes and add my extra insights and interpretations along the way. So if that sounds good to you, subscribe and click the bell to join us twice a week, and let's get right into this one. Starting off with the sun, we have Zara's sun in Sagittarius and Louis' sun in Capricorn. Louis helps Zara to be more realistic. I think this could be in a vein where I know right off the bat where I have something to say, but from what I saw, Zara is like a ex-Love Island contestant, that sort of, genre of reality stars. So obviously I imagine she's a bit more new to this whole fame thing compared to Louis, who's been doing this for since his teens and everything. So I wonder if maybe he helps her be more realistic in terms of things like fame and everything. Zara sees Louis as boring and Louis sees Zara as irresponsible. They've contrasting lifestyles. I believe Louis does still make music, but I think when you compare him to people like, your Harry Styles, with One Direction, Louis does seem to have taken a bit of a step back from the limelight, compared to someone like Harry who's still constantly very much within it. So I wonder, maybe he's sort of stepping back from the industry and everything. He kind of has boring in quotes, more calm and everything is the better way to put it. But for Zara, that could be very boring for someone who's kind of just getting her career started, you could say. Zara's sun overlaid in Louis' 8th house. There's a strong bond and emotional dependence. Zara is captivated by Louis. I wonder if she was a fan of his when she was younger. Zara may feel she cannot leave, and Louis has the ability to transform Zara. They both feel initially afraid of this relationship, and Louis may have come into Zara's life when she is at the bottom. From what I saw, I don't look at the exact timeline of it, but it seemed like she was just fresh out of another relationship, so I wonder if very fresh from a breakup, at the bottom and everything. They both weirdly enjoy the darkness and depth of the relationship. Zara's sun trine Louis' moon. They have honest communication and Zara relies on Louis' support, so seems like he's a bit more supportive, transforming Zara and everything. Louis relies on Zara's wisdom and they're naturally cooperative. Louis tends to be dependent on Zara and they both feel they can rely on each other. Zara's sun conjunct Louis' Mars. They respect each other and they energize each other. They both see the other as their type, and Zara sees Louis as too defensive. I wonder if this is defensive when it comes to the media and everything. I imagine someone like Louis would tend to be a bit more on guard than someone compared to Zara, who's probably a bit more new and, so to speak, a bit more naive, you could say, than someone like Louis. So potentially he's just very on guard with the industry and everything. Louis sees Zara as too judgmental and they challenge and frustrate each other. Louis' sun squares Zara's Saturn. Zara sacrifices her freedom. The only way I could really see this with what we've seen so far is potentially maybe she does take a bit of a step back because of Louis in her own career. Potentially she desires to go at a certain trajectory and do certain things and go pretty much 100%. But Louis is kind of giving her the reality check of certain things and kind of slowing it down, if that makes sense. Louis is too sensitive to criticism and they both attempt to support the other. Louis may outgrow Zara and they both will mature. Zara tends to be too critical of Louis, which kind of goes back to how we just saw that Louis finds Zara to be very judgmental. Louis feels blocked and discouraged by Zara, and Louis sees Zara as all the traditions he wants to overcome. That's interesting. They both need to really want this relationship to work. I mean, it's extremely early days, so... Now for the intermission. This video is brought to you by me, my Etsy store, Adeline the Astrologer. If you ever watch this and think, hey, I would like her to read my Synastry chart, well, I will. I do personalized Synastry readings on my Etsy store, both basic and detailed. The basic one is very simple to understand. It's not overwhelming at all. It's pretty good for those that are beginners to astrology, just getting the head around astrology, or just as a fun gift idea. The detailed one is just like what I do on my channel, just a lot of insight and interpretation on your chart. So if you are interested in that and everything else astrology and tarot related, readings and gifts, then definitely check out my Etsy store. Links are below. I'm always releasing new things, so definitely check it out if you're interested. You can even just favorite the store just to show your support for free. Thanks for listening, and let's get back to the reading. So now it's time for moon. We have Zara's moon in Aquarius and Louis' moon in Leo. These are sister polarity signs, also fixed signs. Louis wants to be dominant. I mean, he does have a few years on her, and I guess you could say maturity, like definitely fame-wise, you could say he's a bit more dominant status-wise. Zara resists Louis' desire for authority, and Louis doesn't like Zara treating him like everyone else. Zara's moon overlaid in Louis' 10th house. It's a neutral relationship and Zara feels uneasy around Louis. There are practical reasons for this relationship and Zara feels Louis is selfish. Like, we've seen a bit more for Zara to be like reliant on Louis and a bit more Louis supporting Zara, but we are seeing a couple of these, like Zara feels Louis is selfish and we did see Louis relies on her wisdom. So I wonder if maybe there's something, you know, he's getting out of this from her, which I'm not sure what it could be. Like, if anything, because like naturally you would think, I don't know, like trying to get back with the youth, because, you know, she's a bit more on the sort of more like modern side of social media and everything. But Louis, I feel like, is still pretty relevant to a lot of people. So I'm not sure what specifically would be. Maybe we'll see a bit more. They view each other as a trophy. Their moon signs are opposite to each other, so they have contrasting emotional needs and it's difficult for them to be in sync. I mean, definitely so in a more sort of practical sense, you could say it seems like Zara's going at wanting to go at a trajectory that Louis wants to slow down with. They're strongly attracted to each other and they have excellent communication when needed. Excellent communication is needed and certain habits will be unbearable for the other. Zara's moon sextile Louis' Mercury. They have long conversations and there's a mutual understanding. They feel comfortable being open with each other and it's a friendship, so I'm not sure if they started off as friends, but that's there. They both like a busy environment. I wonder, because, you know, we're seeing this bit of contrast of, like, I guess, like, temperament when it comes to their careers, trajectory and everything. I wonder, because Zara, I imagine, as with most, like, Love Island or reality TV show people in general, social media becomes their main sort of, like, bread and butter these days. So I wonder if maybe they both do like to have an active career, because as I said, I'm pretty sure Louis is still making music and everything, just not as crazy in the public eye like, you know, his counterparts. So I wonder if maybe they do both like that busy environment, but maybe Zara is just a bit more on social media. And with that obviously comes a bit more sort of like intimacy, you could say, and like, you know, privacy in their lives and everything, which Louis, maybe that is what Louis is not really a fan of. Especially when he was younger, obviously his privacy being invaded quickly in the paparazzi and everything. I wonder if that is the traditions he wants to overcome. Like, he wants this sort of separation between like his private life and, you know, his actual like public career, his music and his actual art and everything. They value the other's opinion and advice, which we did see before. Like, they both seem to support each other and, you know, trust each other and everything. Zara's moon is square Louis' Venus. Previous relationships negatively impact this relationship. I mean, from both ends. With Zara, like, whoever she was with, like, just before Louis, that is the obvious one, I guess you could say, more recent. I'm not sure about Louis' more recent endeavors or anything like that, but obviously with Louis, like, he has a kid, and that whole sort of co-parenting dynamic, maybe that also impacts this relationship. There's a strong connection and Louis may struggle with his self-worth. Zara may not be able to provide Louis with the emotional nourishment he wants. I mean, it's not too shocking. Like, you know, she's young, she wants to live her life. I'm sure, like, it seems like here her priority is kind of a career. We did see she sacrifices her freedom, but that's sort of like a more desired priority, I guess you could say, where her true heart lies. Both need to resolve their internal issues for this to work, and they both tend to take each other for granted. Living beyond means will create strains, and they both will need to learn to compromise, which I think obviously so special of like career-wise and like social media-wise, it seems like as well. Their values are in conflict. yeah, again, it seems like social media, I'm guessing, is what's really in conflict, and like, you know, as a celebrity, the sort of ethics of that, and you know how much people have access to you. They both like each other but not their habits, and they both may feel misunderstood. They both will learn how to cooperate, and Louis doesn't always understand Zara's emotions. Zara sees Louis as narcissistic, and Louis sees Zara as needy. Zara's moon is sextile Louis' Mars. They are open with each other, I think we're seeing again, and Louis feels more assertive. Yeah, that whole dominant thing we're seeing with him again. Zara makes Louis feel at ease, and there's a mutual fascination. Louis helps Zara to be more confident and bold, and Zara feeds into Louis' ego, which I think is very interesting considering we just saw Louis may struggle with his self-worth. That's a very interesting dynamic. I wonder if we'll see a bit more on that. It can be tumultuous at times, and they both learn about themselves here. Zara's moon is square Louis' Pluto. Jealousy and emotional manipulation is underlying, and Louis can sense Zara's unconscious needs and manipulates her. That's not great. Louis tends to be controlling over Zara. Again, that sort of like dominance he feels he has, I guess you could say. Both need to let go of the idea that love only exists with control, which is maybe where they need to, like with past relationships impacting this one, maybe they, you know, developed through those relationships some issues of control in whatever way that manifests. They both need to work through power struggles, and they both may need to work through some psychological demons from the past. I mean, not surprisingly, so I'm sure with Louis especially, projection is a challenge and there's a deep emotional transformation. So now it's on to Mercury. We have Zara's Mercury in Capricorn and Louis' Mercury in Sagittarius. Zara encourages Louis to focus on physical aspects of life. I mean, not shocking. Louis resents Zara for her criticism, we're seeing again, and Zara sees Louis as impractical. Louis sees Zara as someone with no vision. I feel like this would go back to the sort of like, it seems like Louis is sort of worried she has a certain naivete about certain things. You know, it's not necessarily no vision in the sense of like you're not creative. It's no vision, you know, potentially, I don't know, like things like stay a long time on the internet, or like, you know, everything will catch up to you. There's this sort of blueprint you have. Even potentially like, I don't know if Zara posts things about their son, or not their son, Louis' son, I should say, and maybe Louis not happy with that. I'm imagining like no vision in terms of like no sort of like foresight on what bad things could happen, what consequences could happen, if that makes sense. They help each other with their strengths. Zara's Mercury overlaid in Louis' 9th house. Travel, culture, and philosophy are common topics of conversation, and Louis is impressed with Zara's knowledge. So there is something, like, she does have some sort of wisdom and knowledge about things. Maybe it is social media and, like, you could say the more, I don't want to say news side, because, like, Louis was around for that as well. I guess it's just a bit more prevalent and different now. And that is Zara's more bread and butter rather than Louis just being a bit more musical. Zara gives Louis a greater perspective on life. Zara's Mercury trine Louis' Jupiter. Louis is enthusiastic about Zara's thoughts and ideas, and they have positive and inspiring conversations. They have a strong friendship, which we did see the friendship thing before. Louis introduces Zara to new ways of thinking, and Louis can be too lenient with Zara. I'm not sure in what way, because, you know, I was thinking maybe he's not expressing himself, but we have been seeing that, you know, he's a bit more dominant, assertive. I guess you could interpret, because we did see like emotional manipulation occurs, and like Louis tends to be a bit more manipulative. Maybe he's a bit more, I guess you could say, cold. Like he manipulates her instead of communicating what's wrong, if that makes sense. Zara helps Louis with self-expression, and business together is advantageous. They enjoy traveling together, and there's an optimistic meeting. They come from different cultures. I'm imagining this is like more of like their career culture, if that makes sense, because, you know, fairly similar age. Like I think, you know, technically same generation, you could say. They're both English. I don't know what else there could be. Maybe it's a class thing. I know in England that's a thing. So I wonder if there's some technical class difference between them. But otherwise, I feel like it would more so come from Louis, you know, growing up in, you know, the limelight and everything, and as a celebrity. But you have Zara, who I assume, like, I haven't heard of her besides this whole Love Island thing. So I wonder, if that's sort of like different upbringing and like childhood, teenhood, you could say, is a bit of a different culture. Zara's Mercury conjunct Louis' Uranus. They find uncommon solutions to problems, and Louis challenges Zara's way of thinking. I hope this is a bit more direct, because we've seen like he definitely wants to. They're impulsive together and they both enjoy experimenting. They come up with original ideas together and they discover new ways of seeing the world together. They are creative together, and Zara truly understands Louis' originality. So I assume that's a nice thing for Louis, that she appreciates him creatively. They grow intellectually together and they casually talk about taboos. They share an interest in unusual topics. Zara's Mercury conjunct Louis' Neptune. Spirituality is prioritized, so I wonder if maybe this is the area of like taboo topics and more unusual topics they're interested in. It's a telepathic-like connection, and Zara helps Louis turn his dreams into reality. So there is definitely something she like helps him out with. I'm not sure what it is specifically, but that is there. Habit of telling the other what they want to hear, and there's deceptive and exaggerative communication. I feel like this kind of goes back to Louis potentially being manipulative, and like the area where he is a bit lenient with her, but just by not being confrontational. Zara finds Louis confusing, and it's hard to talk about practical matters. They are compassionate towards each other. So now it's time for Venus. We have both their Venus signs in Scorpio, so it's an emotional and passionate relationship. We haven't seen like a crazy amount with their emotions, except like they can't seem to connect with each other emotionally. They both enjoy their unpredictable relationship. This makes me think this relationship is not the priority. Like, I know like on Zara's end, it seems like her heart doesn't necessarily lie here as the priority. It seems like it's more so a career, but she does sacrifice her freedom. And also with Louis, there also seems to be a thing of him wanting to grow and be creative. It seems like Zara's helping him with something. So because of that, I wonder if they're just not together as much. They're not really present with each other as such. We did see they enjoy traveling together, so that's there. Maybe they travel to places together. Individual emotional health determines strength of the relationship. We haven't really seen a whole lot with their emotions, except they can't really fill each other's cup, it seems like. Zara's Venus overlaid in Louis' 6th house. Zara feels they don't have much in common, and Louis senses Zara isn't really into him. So I wonder if they did start off as friends and then sort of like, maybe we do have more in common. Maybe she's kind of into me. Neither see the other as their type. I think we're seeing this again, though. We saw they are each other's type. So I'm curious to see if we'll see a bit more on this, or maybe it's just straight up cancelled out. One of those cancelled out notes. Together as a result of duty or obligation. I mean, we did see it's a bit more of a practical relationship. I think we saw right back in the beginning. It's a helpful and productive relationship. Their Venus signs are conjunct together, so they appreciate each other's aesthetic tastes, and there's potential for long term. I mean, potential. Like, it wouldn't, I feel like it's very early days for these two. And this is the first sort of longevity note we've seen. I think it could go either way. I'm curious to see where it'll go, because just with these two not exactly being on the same page with, I feel like, fairly key things with their lifestyles and everything, that could, not bode well. But it does seem like, they like each other and they're able, not use each other. They seem to find value in each other, I guess you could say. So I think it could go either way. I'm curious to see if we're going to see a bit more on terms of their longevity. They have a basic understanding of each other and they are loving to each other. They're at ease in each other's company and they share their social life. So I wonder if they did meet as friends for like mutual circles or something. Zara's Venus conjunct Louis' Pluto. Intensity constantly deepens and there's a strong pull to each other. Manipulation of the other can occur, as we saw with Louis. It's karmic and there's a deep emotional tie. It just doesn't seem like, it's like there's a pull to each other, but there's not a whole lot of like expressing going on, not a lot of confrontation, it seems like, in this relationship. Louis' Venus sextile Zara's Mars. It's an energizing relationship for Louis and it's love at first sight. So I wonder the whole thing, because we did see Louis said Zara's not really into him. So maybe for him it was this kind of love or lust, whatever you like to call it, at first sight. And he sensed, Zara wasn't really into him. Maybe she doesn't really see him as her type, but maybe he saw her as his type. Zara feels confident around Louis, and Zara helps Louis out of his comfort zone. So she's really helping him grow a lot, it seems like. It seems like there's a lot of mutual support and growth here. Louis' Venus sextiles Zara's Jupiter. It's materially successful, and Zara finds Louis interesting. They have an ability to get over issues, and they see the good in each other. It's a relationship of growth. I mean, that's kind of been the whole theme of this reading. They trust each other, and they thrive in each other's company. They're a socially popular couple. So, I mean, kind of early days to determine. And I think anyone that Louis gets into a relationship with, like, kind of not necessarily going to be super popular, I would say. Like any of like the One Direction people, any relationship is kind of going to be like kind of seen like with black colored glasses, like this is not going to work out and everything. But I wonder if maybe, because we did see they potentially share their social life, so I wonder if within their social circle they're popular. So now it's time for Mars. We have Zara's Mars in Virgo and Louis' Mars in Sagittarius. These are both mutable signs. It's an experimental relationship, I think we're seeing again. And Zara tends to be critical of Louis, that we also keep seeing. But it seems like, I don't know, with the whole growth thing, it seems like it's coming from that sort of place. They're direct with each other, and Louis enjoys debates with Zara. Zara's Mars overlaid in Louis' 5th house. Zara likes to initiate dangerous activities, and Zara seeks admiration from Louis. I mean, we did see right at the beginning, like, what they view each other as a trophy, and Zara is captivated by Louis. I wonder, because we haven't really seen a whole lot of it, but I wonder if maybe Zara was like, a fan of Louis and everything. Like, she's at that, demographic and age too. So I wonder if maybe she was interested in Louis and everything also, because we did see potentially she didn't see him as her type. I wonder if maybe she was interested in someone else from One Direction, and she just generally seeked admiration from someone like Louis, you could say. Louis is flustered around Zara, and they have possessive tendencies. Zara finds Louis childish and obnoxious. Their Mars signs are squared together, so they lack basic understanding of each other, and they push each other, certainly push each other to grow. It's difficult long term. Okay, so yeah, we're seeing it's difficult long term, it seems like. Zara's Mars sextile Louis' Pluto. Zara's daring nature is attractive to Louis, so I'm not sure what these dangerous activities could be, but whatever it is, it seems like Louis likes it. They are competitive, and they have power issues, kind of with Louis seemingly like being a bit more naturally dominant and like manipulative potentially. They have dramatic fights, and there's a potential to be destructive or dangerous. So that was the final aspect, bringing us to the end of the reading. If you are still watching, please share your thoughts below. I'll be very curious to see what you guys have to say about this one. It is, a bit early days, I would say, for this. And what we've seen with longevity is difficult long term, so it kind of could go either way. But if you have made it this far, please consider subscribing for more. I post these readings twice a week. And besides that, give this video a like, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!